Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at VECHAIN. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have our higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, before we jump into the lower degree counts, we're going to discuss a couple of the ways that we are looking at this move currently. Now, within the bullish count here, what we would be saying is that we are looking for a bit of a push to the upside, where we could potentially be looking for this C wave to play out. Now, this would be treating this whole move as a bigger A, B, and a C pattern to the upside. Now, the zone that we typically look for is actually lower down here as a flat. But if we are looking at this as an expanding flat, this 2.618 area would be interesting if we are looking at the idea of actually taking this A wave high. But we'd need to be careful. We'd have to pay attention that if we start to see a 5-wave move up here, we're going to have to use the internals to get a better idea of exactly where this is going to look to complete. The idea here would be that we're still within a bigger B wave, and then we still got a C wave to the downside within this idea. Now, it is also possible that internally here, what we could be looking for is a break to the downside in a bigger A, B, and a C pattern. The thing is, within this idea, because of the potential of this being 5 waves here, we could still be within this bigger B wave, where we still need to see a push up towards this 2401 to this 2034 region before looking for continuation to the downside once again in this way. Obviously, if we do start to push up higher than this point over here, it becomes more likely that we would be following that idea of the 5-wave move to the upside. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that idea if we do look to continue to push to the upside here. So we're going to now come in and talk about these two different ideas. One would be that we need to maintain this low, and we're looking for that breakout. So we're going to discuss that potential of a bigger push to the upside here. Okay, so coming in more locally here, what we would be looking for is the potential that we have a low in place here, and we're looking for this more bullish push to the upside. Now, we would have to say that this corrective structure was a W, X, Y, X, and a Z, and it's not my favorite way of looking at this because it is not that neat in the way that it's played out. It is technically possible that this could be completed because we have hit this 0.618, but we need to be very careful here that this isn't a flat correction, which would mean that we still have continuation to the downside. Now, if this is actually a WXYXZ, we would be anticipating to hold this 1460 level. Now, within this idea here, what we'd be saying is that this move to the upside is the start of our bigger impulse. Now, what we'd be looking at internally here is effectively that this whole move to the upside here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now this is completed. Now, if we are looking for this move as potentially looking to extend to the upside, what I would be anticipating is a 3-wave move to the downside here, and then continuation to the upside. Now, we haven't come down very deep already here. We do need to be a little bit careful here that the move doesn't complete into this point, and we have this as 1, 2, and then another 1, 2, and then we start to rally to the upside. That would only really be confirmed by a much stronger move to the upside and maintaining obviously this low here towards this 1586, but it would make more sense to me to see a bit more of a retracement here. So this is why I've got this blue ABC pattern on the chart here. And as long as we stay below the 786 or 1680, I think it is likely that we could still be looking for at least one more push to the downside here, where this becomes A, we get B, and then C to the downside. Now, depending on how high we come here, this will adjust this area that we look for. Now, I've got this 236 on here because this move is very shallow. If we do see price looking to push up towards the 1638, I will be watching out for a possibility of a reaction where we could get just a very shallow B wave here, and then we see that continuation to the downside. Otherwise, I would be looking for a bit more of a substantial push up here before this continuation to the downside. Now, off of our current area here, if we had to break down directly, 1-to-1 would be 1561, which would actually be bringing us back into some of the structure here and back into this 50% range. What we need to be very careful of here is that internally, if we start breaking down past this 1572 without seeing a bit more of a substantial push to the upside here, we need to be very careful that this isn't 1, 2 here, and then we're starting to see some extension to the downside, because once we cross 1572, if this is a 1 and a 2, we'd have to be careful that we aren't going to get a 3, 4, and a 5, which would look to push us down deeper. Now, if we did see something like this, I would be watching out for the possibility that from further back here, this could be a flat from over here. and that would be still looking for this typical zone that we look for here in this green support box. If we start to lose 1508, the idea would be that, you know, this starts to lose its credibility as looking to extend to the upside. Now, if we're looking for the extension, what we'd be saying is we need to see 3 waves down, and then we need to see a push back up towards this 1.618 area. I currently have this off this golden pocket range down here. So if we do see a retracement down towards this 1527 level, this would align with effectively the possibility of getting this wave 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we do form a 5-wave move to the upside like this, it's going to be very important to see what happens afterwards. If we're looking for that bigger breakout in that idea of having that bigger flat correction playing out, what we'd be saying is that, you know, we still need to see a bigger push to the upside here. What we'd have to be very careful of is that internally, if we do see a smaller 5-wave move like this, which pushes it up into this 2092 to this 2018 region, this would align with coming back into this high here and could make this whole move just a bigger ABC pattern, looking to test potentially this channel area again, and then looking for continuation down. So I'm just going to be mindful of this. You know, if we are looking for that bigger impulse, we need to hit this 2847. Anything less than this could mean this is just a corrective move, and then we still have that continuation to the downside. Now we're going to go over that idea of this corrective structure down. So this is why I'm saying, you know, even if we do see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off this low here, this could just become ABC, and we could still be within this blue B wave here. And then we still look to break down. Now, the most common zone we'd look for rejection would be between this 2401 to this 2034 region. So this is going to be a zone I'm watching out for here, that if this move is a triangle into this point, and this is our A wave, we could still be looking for this B wave here before having continuation down. But what we could see is another move to the downside here in a C wave, in which case what I'd be looking out for would be this 1057 level. Now that would be based off of this high. If we do see price looking to push up a little bit higher here, this would obviously change this target. But this is looking for another leg to the downside here, where we could still be looking for a deeper corrective move. So we need to be very careful of this idea. Now, it is also possible we could argue that this B wave is into this point here, but it's not my favorite interpretation of it once again, because we can argue this is just ABC and we're looking to break down. But the way that we're moving down currently is looking quite corrective. So for the time being, I'm just being mindful of this idea of one more push to the upside first. That would make a lot more sense in my opinion. Now, looking at this corrective structure down, it is possible that instead of this being A, B, and C, it could be W, X, Y. So I'm keeping an eye on this potential as well here, that this whole move here is just an A wave. We have a corrective move to the upside, and then we look to break down. Now we've come into the most common target zone for a flat correction here. Now this is what I'm saying, you know, we need to be careful. This isn't 3, 3, 5. If it's a flat, this will actually mean we're going to get a more violent sell-off to the downside, which would mean that, you know, potentially this 01178 is going to be a target that we need to look out for if we start to break down. And that would be based off of this 1-to-1 area. Now, within this idea, what we'd be saying we need to be careful of is that as a flat correction, we've actually come into the most common zone here. It does tend to push a little bit higher into this 1618 to this 1236, but we have done enough here internally where this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this could actually be completed. It's going to be key what happens. If this is a flat, what we'd expect to see is price action reversing to the downside and actually taking this low, and it would be a substantial break of this low as well. We'd want to see if this is going to be a flat, because if it is a flat, it would be either indicating that somewhere within here we have extension within the waves, or like I said, this is A, B, and C, and then we're looking for this more bearish drop to the downside, where we're going to see a push down towards this typical zone of 1178 to this 1081 as an ABC pattern. So need to be on the lookout for that idea of looking to break down off the back of this 5-wave structure. If we hold support, we can potentially rally in that more impulsive idea. But if we start to lose this low, it becomes very likely that we're actually going to sweep this 1318 level and then see that continuation down. Now, if we are looking at this idea and saying that potentially we are looking for a 5-wave move here, we can't rule out the idea of something like a diagonal 1 2 1 2, and then we start to break down in a bigger way. It's not my primary way I'm looking at it, but effectively, if we did have to see a move down past this 1160 region, this could align with the idea of starting to extend out, where we'd have to say this was 1 2, this would be 1 2 3 4 and 5. The problem I have with this is that this wave 2 would be substantially smaller than the lower degree wave 2 over here. So this is why it's more likely, you know, if we are going to see a push down there, it's going to be in that 3-wave structure, in my opinion. Now, I have been talking about this idea that we could have this as 1 2 and then a series of 1 2s higher up here. Now, it is technically still possible because we haven't crossed this 1725, but we'd need to see a breakdown directly. And what I'd be looking for within this is the blue count being 1 2 3 4 5. Now, this has reached the 4 times the length of this wave 2, so this is making it already less likely. But if we do continue to just move down in 5 waves, get a bounce up in 3 waves, continue down in 5 waves, bounce up in 3, and continue this idea to the downside. Effectively, what this could mean is that we're still extending out here, and we do have this additional set of fourths and fifths to come to the downside. So you need to just keep an eye on this. I will be watching out, you know, some of these lower levels if we do continue to see price looking to push down here. This 3.618 level would be quite an interesting one at this 1119 that I'm going to be watching out for if we do continue to see this move down. But like I said, the likelihood is, you know, if we're going to see a breakdown from this flat, it would make more sense to me that it's an A, B, and a C pattern rather than that C wave playing out in that way. If we do get a bigger ABC pattern down like this, we need to be open to the idea that, you know, we could start to see a reversal from this low, but we need to also just be aware that until we actually take this high here, we need to be very careful of that idea of this becoming 1 2 and a bigger third wave to the downside. Coming in here and having a look at the daily pivots, what we can see is that we are currently underneath our central lines, which is sitting at the 1652 to this 1641. If we do see price looking to push up here, we could find resistance in this level before continuation down. If we do look at this as a bigger ABC pattern, we'll be watching out for this 1595 and this 1585 as a potential zone. We could get a reaction, and then from there we'd have to monitor how we react to the upside. If, however, we do continue to push through these levels, other targets for today would be 1535, 1482, and this 1423 as potential downside targets. Moving back above these central lines opens up the potential to test out the previous day high of the 1697 and this R1 level of the 1707. If we do see price looking to continue up through these zones and we continue to progress up, I will be watching these levels of 1759, 1818, and this 1872 as potential upside targets. Now, the only way I would see this happening if we're going to get a direct push here would be something like this, looking for a third wave, where we'd say that this is 1 2, and then we're looking for 1 2 3 4 5 directly up here. Unless we get that pushback up above these levels, it does become more likely that we're going to see a bit more of a corrective structure down. Now, having a look at the weekly pivots, what we can see is that we've actually met all of our weekly targets so far. Now, we are currently sitting on our R2 line here at the 1632. If we do look to move back up, we could potentially find resistance at this 1669 level. If we do continue down here one more time, where this is a bigger ABC pattern, we'll be watching out for this 1574 zone as a possible support area where we could look to find at least temporary support and then see some kind of a move to the upside. Losing that level, other support could potentially come in at 1548 to 1529. Losing that level, we have targets of this 1486, 1447, and this 1392 as potential downside targets for this week. Now, moving over and having a look at the monthly CPR lines, what we can see is that we have actually moved back into these central lines and we've targeted out this top line. Now, if we continue to hold these CPR lines, so the lower level here is a 1612, we could potentially look for a continuation to the upside. If we start to lose these levels, however, we could be looking for that continuation down, looking for 1401 this month, 1226, and the lower target here is at this 00977. So we need to be very careful of this idea that, you know, we could start to see a more violent breakdown here. But until we actually see this low get taken out, we have potential to rally. Now, if we do maintain these central lines and we start to see a direct push to the upside, I will be watching this 1823, 2073, and 2247 as possible upside targets for this month. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below. And also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.